Welcome back to the Tracy Take. I am Tyler here with my brother Ryan, and today we are going over the final mock draft for the New York Giants. It is a full 7-round mock draft where we will go over all of the Giants selection. But before we do that, the NBA and NHL playoffs are right around the corner. And if you'd like to put a couple bucks down on each of the games, click the link down below to take full advantage of BetUS. Great promotion that they have going on right now for first-time players. For all first-time players, you get a 125% match for your first 3 deposits. It's an absolutely phenomenal deal, and with such a fun time of the sports season coming up with the playoffs, it's going to be a lot of great games going on for you guys to bet on. And while you're at it, be sure to like this video and also subscribe to the Tracy Take to get notified whenever we create new content. Trying to get to 3,000 subscribers by the NFL draft, which is just 2 weeks away. We're about 150 out. So any help is greatly appreciated. And Ryan, that being said, Giants here, they've had a busy offseason so far. And so they've moved on from Saquon Barkley. They've moved on from some other key guys as well on the team, such as Xavier McKinney, Ben Bredesen as well. But they've also brought in a lot, as I would think, too, with the signing of Jermaine Illuminor, John Runyon as well. I think they've definitely added a lot of great pieces to the offensive line. We could also probably do a whole video reading into their offensive tackle situation. Probably don't trust Evan Neal, or at least they don't trust him at right tackle. And so,
No.
But they did also replace Saquon. They did get Devin Singletary. They've also have gotten some running backs in the past couple of drafts. So what will they do here? Potentially we address that in this draft as well. I say all that just because it makes this pick for me even that much easier. As like I think they're going to go receiver, even if there is a quarterback available. I still think that they'll probably go receiver. We had the quarterbacks go 1, 2, 3, and obviously you can see the receivers went 4, 5, 6. So maybe Drake May falls or Jaden Daniel falls, they go and draft him. But I think it was such an odd year last year that I think the Giants organization is going to give Daniel Jones another chance. And at minimum, they still need people to throw to, whether it's Daniel Jones or not. So you go get a guy like Rome Odunze, who I think would be number 1 receiver in a lot of the past couple of draft classes. Maybe Drake London and Jamar Chase you could make a debate for, but he is that good. It also goes to show how good Marvin Harrison Jr. and Malik Neighbors are. But what are your thoughts on this pick? What are your thoughts on Rome Odunze, and what are some other potential options the Giants end up going?
Yeah, I mean, realistically, I think if they don't want to draft a wide receiver here, it's because one of the quarterbacks fell. Other than that, I think that they could trade back. Brock Bowers is there. If Brock Bowers, well, he will be there. But if they want to draft a tight end, I think they could go that route. I just don't think. I think if they're going to draft a pass catcher, it's going to be a wide receiver because that's where it's really been lacking. So I also think, I guess if they don't want to do any of that, they could trade out of this pick because I'm sure you have teams that would love to come up here and draft one of these guys. Like think of Chicago at 9, right?
Oh, yeah.
So that would be another scenario that I think that could potentially play out. I love Rome Odunze. I think he is everything you want in a receiver, from toughness to ability to make contested catches to also separate at the stem of a route. And so I really like this pick. I think Giants fans will love him for years to come. So let's move on now to their second-round pick. They only have one second-round pick now because they traded the other one for Brian Burns. But getting another pretty pseudo pass rusher here, Braden Fisk, the defensive tackle from Florida State. He's a little bit of a tweener. He's going to be about 6'3", 6'4", 290 pounds. But he's going to be an interior pass rusher. I think with Dexter Lawrence taking up so much space, I think you can get away with a slightly undersized defensive tackle like Braden Fisk. And then you could have Brian Burns on the outside, or Azeez Ojulari on the outside, or even Kayvon Thibodeau. And so, like, I like this fit here. This defensive line was already pretty good last year when everybody was healthy. So going and getting another piece to kind of even rotate in, I think would be phenomenal.
Yeah, I was, especially in the second half of the season, I was surprised with how good that Giants defense was playing. They were just, I think, decimated on the offensive side of the ball with injuries. Daniel Jones going down. Saquon Barkley did miss some time in the first half of the season. Offensive line issues, really enough said. And so I think with the moves they've made so far in the offseason, and then if they start off with Rome Odunze or Malik Neighbors, or just one of those top 3 receivers, I think they have the luxury here to then even get better on the defensive side of the ball, whether that be defensive line or linebacker, maybe even corner. They want to go get someone like Enos Rakestraw, who was taken next. But to your point, though, getting a guy like Braden Fisk, I mean, provides so much more versatility. And when they get up in games, he can come in and then provide that pass rushing capability. And just, hey, pin your ears back. Just go get the quarterback. Because teams like Philly, teams like Dallas, now then as well with Washington, who in our mock, they drafted Jaden Daniels and the Cliff Kingsbury offense. I think that team's going to be able to sling it. So they're going to need guys to get after the quarterback. You got Brian Burns already, as you mentioned. So I think going then addressing the defensive interior, at minimum, is just going to be good depth.
Yeah, for sure. So let's move on to their third pick here in this draft is Karan Amegdije, I believe is how it's pronounced. But the offensive tackle from Yale played a little bit of guard, a little bit of right tackle, and then finished up this last year at left tackle. And I think he just provides some good depth. You got Jermaine Illuminor in this free agency class. Evan Neal and Andrew Thomas struggled a little bit with injuries. Well, not a little bit, struggled a lot of bit with injuries last year. And so I think going and solidifying some of the depth around these tackles is going to be very critical moving forward.
Yeah. I can see them going tackle here. They could potentially go if they wanted to wait on tackle and go at 107. I could see them addressing the secondary and try to get a little bit better in that aspect as well. Potentially could double up on receiver. Brendan Rice and Ted Walker were taken just right before this. So if they are able to fall, if they want to trade up a couple of spots just to go get their guy, I could see that. A lot of different options, I think, here with the Giants, just on which route they would want to go here. We felt they're getting more offensive line depth just because of how bad this offensive line has been. I almost think the Cincinnati Bengals approach is like, let's just throw as many bodies out there as possible and just wait for something to work. So I think they're almost in that mindset now of because they need some consistency on that offensive line. I think they had the second worst. They gave it the second most amount of sacks last season. Compared to any offensive line going back to when that stat was being kept. Going back
it basically was the second worst offensive line in history of the NFL. So let's move on now to their day 3 picks. They only have 3 day 3 picks, but we wanted to address this running back room because simply Devin Singletary is not enough to replace Saquon Barkley, nor is really anybody in this class. But getting Marshawn Lloyd, the running back from USC, I think is a good start. He can come in and he has every down back capabilities, but maybe not like the elite athleticism or explosiveness of a guy like Saquon Barkley. We didn't address quarterback at the top of the draft, so we got Jordan Travis here, and then James Williams, the other safety from Miami, just to add some depth at that position as well. So all in all, I think with the Giants, they are just a really solid, or not really solid, but they don't have a ton of holes to fill, so I think they're going to be best player available outside of that wide receiver spot. I also think with them being at 6, I think they're not really in range to go after a quarterback. And so unless they're willing to give up, I think even New England at 3, I think they'd have to give up at least a first-round pick next year and their second this year.
Man, and I'll be honest too, even if there is a quarterback available, like they signed Drew Lock on free agency and they still have Tommy DeVito that's on their roster. I think that's your 3 quarterbacks right there. Now with the emergency quarterback, so they'll dress all 3 quarterbacks. One will just be an emergency, probably Tommy DeVito.
Yeah,
I think they roll with it. I think that they're going to go with a quarterback anyways, because hypothetically, let's say it does go 1-2 quarterback, then the next 3 receivers. And there's still a quarterback there at 6.
Yeah,
Minnesota will give them a first rounder next year. And I think if you're the Giants, like you're gonna want that capital, you're gonna want that flexibility next year's draft class. And you go back to 11, and there's gonna be corners that are available. There's gonna be edge rushers that are available. There's still gonna be offensive linemen that are gonna be available if you wanted to address that, such as Talise Fuaga, Olu, J.C. Latham, Brian Thomas Jr. can still go and be that receiver, maybe a little high for him, but still, I feel like quarterback, they absolutely can still go quarterback. I'm not saying they're not going to do that, but I do feel though that it's probably not in the top 3 of their main priorities when it comes to like this number 6 overall pick.
Well, I think in terms of priorities, I think quarterback play is at the top of their.
Oh well,
list.
Yeah,
because Daniel Jones.
I can say that for all 32 teams.
I think for the Bills, the Chiefs, like teams like that. But I think we're not Josh Allen with Daniel Jones. you want him to be playing how he was 2 years ago when they made the playoffs, using his athleticism and just making good decisions with the football, and then kind of letting the defense do their work. He did, I think, have a better. I mean, they didn't really have much of a supporting cast then, but they were doing more with less then. So it'll be interesting to see what the Giants do going forward into 2024. But let's go ahead and wrap up their mock draft here. If you guys have not already, please go ahead and like and subscribe. Leave a comment down below on what you thought of this New York Giants 7-round mock draft. Did you love it? Did you hate it? What would you do differently? Other than that, we'll see you guys next time.